Good morning. Welcome to our Talks with Anthony. Today we're going to have a insightful conversation. For those that are new to the channel, we make mental health conversation and content that will be beneficial to your personal development in addition to your well-being. However, in today's conversation, we're going to be talking about understanding and managing social anxiety, right? So this video is going to be able to offer compassionate and practical ways to look at social anxiety, what it is, what happens, and how to manage it in effective evidence-based tools, right? So I want us to avoid social situations, whether we're just feeling some, anxious about speaking up. This could be able to build that confidence and that connection so you're able to feel adequate for whatever circumstance that you're in. However, in the introduction, let's just dive right into it by just starting off with, you're not alone, right? So do you ever feel nervous before speaking up, going to a party, or meeting up with someone new? This is not something weird. You're not broken. You're not, you know what I mean? I want us to understand that we're all going through this unique experience when regards to social anxiety. And like I said, you're far from alone. So let's dive and explore into this. So our first key point I want to dive right into is going to be social anxiety affects millions. It's more common than we may think. It also can range from mid-nervousness to dabbling into the fear of social situations, right? The goal isn't to be perfect, it's to feel more safe, authentic, and confident. So when it comes to some research insights, according to the National Institute of Mental Health, around 7% of US adults experience social anxiety disorder in a given year. So this is something that people do feel, they're undergoing, and like I said, we all, we're all intertwined as humans, and we definitely do feel these emotions. So I want us to also take consideration that you're not weird and you're not alone. So let's move on to the next segment in regards to what is in social anxiety really, right? So let's dive more closer to what it is. So social anxiety isn't, just shyness. It's a deep fear of being judged, embarrassed, or rejected, and it starts within the brain. Sometimes we have that brain freeze, for instance. You just kind of get flustered, and that anxiety is just kind of rushing through the body. However, when it comes to some key points, it's rooted in survival instinct, right? The brain sees social judgment as a threat. So that also considers triggers include public speaking, meeting new people, or even small talk. In addition, physical symptoms include racing heart, sweating, or blanking out, a normal anxiety response. So I want us to take into consideration, just kind of think about, a time that you were maybe anxious when you had to meet someone new, or you were put on the hot seat and you had to talk, or you even had to do a public speaking, you had to go up there and do a presentation. I want you to just kind of think about, a time where you was undergoing some social anxiety. Because like I said, we're all human, we go through these emotions as well. All right, let's dive right into some research insights, right? So from a 2011 study from biological psychiatry found that heightened amygdala activity in individuals with social anxiety during social evaluation, right? So this heightens, like I said, in the body, in the mind, when we're interacting with that social anxiety. Next segment I want to dive right into is going to be the anxiety cycle, right? So how it traps you. So here's how social anxiety keeps you stuck. It tricks you to avoiding what scares you, right? And avoidance makes you fear even stronger, right? So we got to realize when, for instance, right, if you, for the fellas, right, if you see a shorty out there that you're jacking, that you're liking, that, you have an attraction to, I think that's much beneficial to just walk up and just say, hey, but within, let's say, give yourself like 4 to 5 seconds, right? Or even less, if that would be even better, right? And just letting that time build up, and then, you're making that anxiety, that fear stronger. We have to all gotta, like I said, we all gotta make that connection that anxiety rushes through all our bodies. However, we have to recognize what it is, how it traps us, and figure out ways to be able to dismantle it so we're able to have more safe, more connected, and we feel more authentic within ourselves when these anxieties happen. However, moving forward in regards to some key points, I want us to talk about avoidance gives short-term relief, but reinforces anxiety longer. Next key point is going to be the brain learns social equals danger. Even if that's not true. Moving forward, we're going to be talking about breaking the cycle starts within gentle exposure to self-compassion, right? So we have to recognize that being kind to ourselves, be understanding that, listen, we all go through this. I ain't the only one. I'm not weird. I'm not bugging out. And like I said earlier, we're not alone. However, but we have to start being kind to ourselves in regards to understanding what this is, and then recognizing like, all right, I'm gonna get through this, and being gentle to yourself as you're, undergoing these anxieties. In regards to some research insight, the Journal of Anxiety Disorders in 2008 describes how avoidance behaviors maintains anxiety through negative reinforcement. So when we're negative to ourselves, when we're self-sabotaging, when we're talking down on ourselves, it only makes anxiety stronger when we're avoiding these behaviors too. However, like I said, we have to embrace it, be kind to ourselves, and then try to make those corrective actions and just take action, and we'll realize that it wasn't even that bad. And at the end of the day, I want us to take consideration, just kind of spin it back to the fellas out there or anybody out there, right? Is that taking rejection, bro. You know what I mean? Not everybody's gonna like you. Not everybody's gonna, feel you. Not everybody's gonna like the cologne or the perfume right off your body, bouncing off your pores. You gotta recognize that, right? There's pros and cons, there's good and there's bad, and however, like I said, not everybody's gonna jack you, not everybody's gonna like you. However, you have to love yourself more. So if someone tells you no, say, all right, no problem, have a nice day, and go about your business. It's just that simple, right? You will have the match for you, you will have the people for you, you will have that community for you, you will have that environment for you. However, like I said, we have to just be able to take these things into consideration, have that awareness, and move accordingly, and recognize, the compassion that love lies with inside of us. And it takes time, but you have to practice these things as, Thriving Talks, as we make these introduction in these mental health and these personal development videos. However, let's move on. In regards to our next segment, we're talking about tools for managing social anxiety. So now this is the good part, there's proven tools that can be able to help us manage our social anxiety step by step. So let's dive right into some key points, right? So cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, is known for reframing anxious thoughts, right? So they'll be able to think about what is really happening within these thoughts and figuring out ways to have more balanced thoughts, right? So, for instance, they'll think I'm awkward, I'm weird, right? Instead of having more balanced thoughts that are like, I'm probably feeling nervous too, right? So taking consideration, like I said, we're human, we have these emotions, Other people feel these things too. Sweaty palms, I felt it, right? I got nervous, I'm starting to sweat, I'm feeling, I'm feeling a little anxious. This is just what it is, but we have to figure out ways we're able to breathe, regulate our body, speak positive into the mind, like I always emphasize. I'm really pushing that positive thinking, and then recognize, like I said, there's other people out there that are human being, and they probably feel nervous too. They feel the way that I may feel too, and I recognize this too. When you feel authentic, and for instance, if I have to do a public speaking event and I'm just being true to myself, and I grab the mic and I say, listen, y'all, I haven't did a little public speaking event in a little minute. I'm feeling a little anxious. However, we're gonna get through this, and let's just dive right into our video, which is not video, but let's say the events about like self-care, and we're gonna dive right into it. The people, your audience, is going to recognize that. They're going to see how authentic you are. They're going to have some type of understanding and compassion. It's like, he's really up there. He's speaking to us. And it's like 50 plus people over here. And at least he's really being himself. They're going to rock with that. And I really want us to take that into consideration, because we are human, and just you being yourself really makes the difference. However, like I said, in regards to our videos being nervous, we have to take that into consideration, that you're not nervous, you're not alone, and just being more at ease within yourself. Next key point I want to be able to talk about is gradual exposure, right? So create a fear ladder, right? And climb it one win at a time, right? So one thing at a time. Focus on that gradual exposure, getting yourself out there, trying new things, having that positive mindset, and putting in that effort. You're going to be able to, climb up that fear ladder and get to the top. And before you know it, you're like, I felt all these emotions before. Nothing's relatively new. And let me help someone else out there. Let's do this. So we were able to conquer that, like I said, with practice. Moving on, we're going to be talking about breathing techniques, right? So the 4-7-8 or box breathing calms the nervous system before and during social moments. Like I said, regulating your body, probably taking a nice little walk, going to the bathroom, looking at yourself, telling yourself like, I'm really him, I'm really her, I'm doing what best I could do, really, and just embracing yourself, speaking positivity into your life, right? And doing these breathing exercises is going to be able to help reduce that stress. so you're able to feel at ease. Next is going to be prepare, don't over prepare, right? So think of talking points, right? But don't script everything. You don't want to find yourself reading off of a flashcard or a paper, right? Just make things feel more authentic. Speak the way you speak, and that can be able to reduce that overall peer pressure, that pressure, by just, being prepared, knowing what you're talking about, but not overdoing it where you're reading off of a script where you're feeling, anxious because you maybe trip over a word, or you may do this, or things are just kind of exacerbated. So, be prepared, but be easy on yourself, be light on yourself. Next key point I want to talk to you guys about, which was mentioned before, is self-compassion. So replace those harsh self-talking with kindness, right? So it'll be okay. I'm nervous, however, I'm growing, I'm gonna get through this, right? So like I said, talk positivity into your life and embrace yourself. In regards to some research insights, a meta-analysis in clinical psychology review in 2014 found that CBT to be the most effective treatment for social anxiety with long-term benefits, right? So when we're seeking therapy and using these modalities, it's going to be able to help us as a professional. It's going to be able to break, these thoughts down and navigating us with more positive thinking in regards to helping us break the anxiety with better understanding. Our next segment, we're going to be talking about confidence is a skill and you can build it. Like I said, with positive practice and that consistency, we're going to be able to, navigate with the right tools. So confidence is something that you have or you don't have. It's something that you practice, and every step counts. So key point number one is confidence grows when you're doing hard things, not waiting to feel ready, right? So you don't want to sit there and be complacent, stagnant, and I'm gonna get to when I get to it, and you just procrastinate and you ain't even on it. You want to be able to recognize that growth happens when we're doing, challenging things, we're challenging ourselves, and we're getting outside our comfort zone, and we're being able to conquer these things by applying ourselves. So I want us to take that in consideration. Next key point, I want to focus on connection over performance, right? So, like I said, focus on your progress. Don't focus always on the outcomes, right? And what things are going to look like, and always try to just focus on what's next. Be present, right? And half of your stress will go away when you just kind of just be present. You're here, you're breathing, and you're focusing on that connection over the performance. Next is going to be, track your wins no matter how small, right? So I made eye contact, I joined the conversation, I applied myself. Think about the little things, right? Then the full picture, because little things add into the big picture. So like I said, track your wins no matter how small they may be. In regards to some research from the 2019 Journal of Behavioral Therapy and Experimental Psychiatry, found that self-advocacy, right, improves significantly with repeated social exposure tasks. So like I said, when we're putting ourselves out there, getting outside our comfort zone, embracing our confidence, embracing ourselves, speaking positivity and light over ourselves, we're going to recognize that it's reducing the stress, but it significantly is going to improve those social anxiety exposures as we're, embracing those tasks. In regards to our next segment, I want to talk about when to get help and why it's brave to get help, right? So if social anxiety is holding you back from your life, for what you want, it's not your fault. And I think that it's really important for us to advocate for ourselves, to be able to, get to where we need to be and figure this thing out. And like I said, you're not alone because the support is there, right? So as mentioned before, in regards to some key points, a therapy modality, CBT and ACT can help rewire helpful thoughts and these thought patterns to be able to help us have conducive thought patterns to be able to get the results and things that we want. Next key point is going to be medication may support therapy in several cases, right? So there's always a doctor that you could talk to. There's always someone out there that's going to be a professional to help you out, get, like I said, control of your anxious thoughts. And like I said, medication can also be an alternative. So make sure you speak with a doctor. Next key point is going to be reaching out. It's not a weakness. It's an act of courage. Like I said, no one knows you better than yourself. We have to take that in consideration. Your body's different than someone else. Your cultural chemistry is different than someone else. The way that your parents raised you is going to be different than someone else. Everybody is uniquely different, and we have to be able to embrace that. And speaking out, advocating for yourself is very important. For me, I had to find a way to get myself a mentor. I had to find a way to get myself a therapist. I had to find a way to make these transitional changes in my life, and I had to advocate, and I had to put my hand up and get that help. So I really want us to take in consideration to seek the support, and you're going to recognize, like I said, that confidence, that courage based off of the little things that you do by applying yourself and taking that action. So like I said, I'm asking you to reach out. If possible, if you do need help, please take that in consideration. The help is here, the professionals are here, and you got certified people out there that went through the process, that went through all the curriculum, so they're able to help you. So I want you to take that into consideration, please. However, when it comes to some research insights from American Psychological Association, recognizes CBT as a gold standard for treating social anxiety with high rates of improvement after 12 to 16 sessions. So like I said, we're applying ourselves, we're having that practice, and we're having these sessions with a professional. We're going to recognize significant rates of improvement. So let's take that in consideration, so we're able to not have a stagnant, boxed-in mindset, but a more optimistic, open, positive growth mindset. In regards to wrapping things up, in regards to this beautiful video, I want to be able to once again mention that you're not alone, but to be seen. And by being seen is advocating for yourself, making these investments in yourself in regards to applying that effort, and things will happen. In regards to social anxiety, telling you to hide. However, we have to try to transition to that healing. So healing starts when you let yourself show up just as you are, right? You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be present. Like I said, when you're present, a lot of that stress, anxiety will go away. Breathe, relax, love yourself, give you that self-compassion. Thriving Talks, this is what we do. However, if you thought this video was beneficial, share it because it is necessary. Comment if necessary. And once again, thank you for thriving me. See you on the next one. Take it easy.